good evening now. My name is Chastity Buckley. I'm the host of Midnight R&B Edition, Homage and Midnight Love BET. Well, I give all my flowers on my R&B artists, singers, and songwriters and producers. But y'all, I have an R&B legend in the game. Well, hip-hop included. R&B legend, Grammy Award, musician, producer, and part of the Hitmen. The one, the only Fanatic. Well, a.k.a. Billie Lennox. How are you doing today?
Hello, everybody. We finally got it on. I apologize for last week when we were trying to do it. I was in the studio late and I overslept and I got the coast mixed up, the time zones mixed up. It was a mess. I was looking really unprofessional. So I was like, yo, I got to clean this up and I got to come back on for you and your audience and represent. So
look, you got your friends up in here. You got my friend Eric C. He's up in here. He's saying OG.
Oh, no doubt.
Look, but Fanatic, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Beyonce's debut album. Like, you opened the doors for her solo-wise. Like, how's it feel? It's been 20 years.
No, it went so fast. She's put out so much music. It feels like it's been a long time since that album, but it was 20 years was only like yesterday, you know.
Look, they calling you legendary in the chat. Oh, everybody excited about this. Look, you did my #1 song off the album. Let's be real.
I appreciate it.
Man, like today we're gonna be talking about Beyonce's debut album, but not even your career, your legacy, but Speechless, the album cut out that a lot of people admire the door. And I know you see last week, I was just showing everybody singing your song. This girl singing to her husband at a wedding. Like, how did you feel after all these years seeing?
Yo, it's so crazy to see people, you know, because you never know. You never know, but I just love the fact that after all of this time, people still gravitate to that song. People still love that song. It still has an impact on their life. People want to cover that song and showcase their vocal ability to it. And as a producer, that's all you want is your music to be appreciated like that. So it felt really good to me, and I appreciate you sending me those things. I'm gonna have to post some of those because it just blows me away when I see the reaction to something that, you know, God sent to you and you're just a vessel, and, you know, this music in your head comes out and everybody appreciates it and they feel something from it and it affects their lives. So I'm just so appreciative of that.
Yeah, and it appreciates me too, because me seeing that, listening to the whole album when I was 14 years old was just very, very beautiful for her. But not even that, I was just so excited to see her go solo because we were so used to her singing Destiny's Child. And we'll get to that and we'll talk about that, you know, more into the interview. But I want to ask you, you know, before we do get started, I always ask my guests how they've been doing because I know this 2020 era has been crazy. I want to ask you, how have you been doing?
Well, I appreciate that. We don't check on each other enough. And I think it's so important with social media and just the expectations of life in general. It's like, you know, you got to check on your people and make sure they're all right, because people appear like they're in a great space and they could be just dealing with something behind the scenes that is really a dark space for them. So it's so important. Me as a creative, I'm extra sensitive as a creative, and everything around me inspires me and influences me. So I always have to be in a good space to be able to create. So, you know, I appreciate you checking on me. How are you as well?
I'm good. You know, it's been a little crazy. You know, we sadly had one of my coworkers, she sadly had a tragic death in her family. So it's been kind of crazy for me, but, you know, just learning about life and just, you know, recently the anniversary of my mother's passing has been, you know, a whirlwind. But, you know, learning that you live when people have passed away, you know, changes your life around. But, you know, you just learn how to live with it and just, you know, move forward. Because I feel like this, if God has you, nobody can touch you, you know?
100%. You definitely have to pay attention to the signs when he is talking to you, and do not be hard-headed and just listen to what he's saying, because if you're in tune with him, which you should be in every aspect of your life, it makes it a lot easier, and he definitely puts you in the universe with his children. So we all help each other.
You better drop gems today. You better drop these gems today, because I feel that when it comes down to just being okay, I think that's the biggest thing we can learn from this. And I think what COVID taught all of us is that, you know, life is short, and no matter what, your life can be taken in just a matter of moments. And, you know, learning about that now is making me appreciate what life is about, and just appreciate the little things. You know, my family, you know, my goddaughter, everything that I love the most, I want them with me forever. So I love that.
A lot of people look at COVID like it was a bad thing, but if you were really paying attention, COVID definitely woke us up to a lot of things that we took for granted. And so I love COVID. It gave me a lot of time for myself and with my kids and time to grow. And also I spent some time with my dad, and Billie Lennox was born in the pandemic. So it would have never happened had I not had that space to like really explore and create.
You know, they call you Lenny Kravitz. So, I mean, that's your other name.
That's a compliment. But you know, Lenny Kravitz is light skinned. This is a hardwood floor brown right here.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying? I'm representing for the brown people.
That's right. That's right.
That's a compliment, though. We all were inspired by Lenny Kravitz and his music and everything. And now it's just time to carry the torch and keep it going.
Preach. I mean, you carry the torch for yourself and everybody else in this music industry, but we want to get to know who you are, you know, your legacy and everything you do. So I know you're from Greensboro, North Carolina. Yes. How was it like growing up down, you know, from the South? And not even that, how was it like the expression of R&B, and who did you look up to in your R&B genre?
Well, for me, there was a lot of music in my house. My dad used to listen to James Brown and Kool and the Gang. Then my stepdad used to listen to the Isley Brothers and Millie Jackson and Al Green. Right. So I was getting like, you know, New York soul, and then I was getting Southern soul, and then I went to an all-white school, so I was getting classic rock with Led Zeppelin and the Beatles, and so I was getting like, and my mom listened to soft rock, so I was getting all that too, and then hip hop, you know, came into my life as well. So I got to really experience a plethora of music growing up that just really opened my mind to just being a music lover. Not even so much a lover of a certain genre. It was just being a music lover and appreciating how people could express themselves through music. Like, that's not an easy gift, and that's not an easy thing for people to do. That's right. So I just fall in love with the ability to express yourself and creative expression. Because also when you listen to music from back in the day, whether it was a black artist or white artist, they were all trying to do soul music. They were all trying to express from their soul and their authenticity. Yep. And so I could find the soul and pop music and rock music and all that, because it all comes from us anyway. It's all rhythm and blues.
Come on, Black Music Month. Look, let's be real. And that's so
every month is Black
Music Month.
And they will tell you that, the ones that really know what time it is.
Exactly. And you know what? I love this, Fanatic, and I love that you said about how the genre of R&B, especially gospel, is the foundation of the sound of music. And I feel like, too, you give me like Prince vibes with your sound and what you do, because I feel like you're heavily inspired by Prince. Like, you got Prince.
You pay attention. You pay attention. It's so crazy that you say that.
I'm listening to those melodies and those beats. Like, how was that? Was that super influential in your sound on what you do in music too?
Oh, definitely. Prince is always my inspiration. When I'm having writer's block, he's my go-to that I look to because he always created outside the box. Yeah. He was always fusing genres, and when you listen to him, you can hear so much of everything in his music, and that's why it was so universal. So he and just his ability to live in his own like who he was. Like, he wasn't afraid to showcase who he was. He wasn't afraid to be different. And I found throughout my career, when I traveled down that same path of just trying to be authentically different and who I am, it always resonates, you know, with an audience. It always finds a home. It always finds an audience. So I love that about Prince, and I miss him. I miss even to the end. Every time he showed up, it was a moment. You know, so I miss that, and I miss that superstar thing that so many of us learned from. You know,
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And then you just learning the inspiration. Like, okay, so now we're going to talk about you and what you've done. So now we want to get to start talking about you, and, you know, how did you do this, Crushing You, with your song with that. I want to talk to you about that, but not even that. I know you were partners with your friend Eli Davis, and I know Vincent Herbert discovered you. So how did that part come about in your first break in the music industry?
We had an artist by the name of Omniscience, and I had my own label, and we were white labeling records, which means we were just making records in the studio and immediately take them to the radio station. Wow. And Vincent Herbert happened to be coming through Charlotte to see a group, and he heard the song on the radio, called the DJ. He knew the DJ. He called the DJ and the program director. They knew me. and he hit me up, and he came to Greensboro, and we went in the studio, and I played him a bunch of music. And the next thing you know, I'm in New York City in a 5-star hotel looking at Manhattan and going to see Sylvia Rome the next day. And mind you, at the time when this happened, I was a very dark place in my life and my career. Nothing was happening. I was in this little apartment with no electricity. My beard was out to here. And it was just a really dark place in my life where music nothing was happening. And it shows you how God takes you through things to build you and make you stronger. Because, you know, when I went through that at the time, it seemed like it was a very hard and dark place for me. Yeah. And he took me there, and it humbled me. It made me appreciate things. It made me stronger mentally, that I can endure difficult moments like that. And I felt like he was preparing me for what was ahead and getting into this music business with these sharks and just understanding how to navigate through that. And I endured it. The next thing you know, we had a record deal. So that's how I met Vincent. Ended up signing to his production company, and just learned so much about the music business from him. And that was my really first real taste of really learning every aspect of the music business and how it works.
You better, yes. And I love that. I love that you talked about being honest about how it was very, very dark for you, but not even that light came into her, but it's showing you the navigation to now, okay, now somebody sees my gift. Somebody sees that the music is in me. Now I have to show it to the world. So I know you said that Sincere Thomas plays a huge role in this Crush on You thing. So how did you get to do that track? Because, you know, that's the anthem. You know, people for Halloween be dressing up like Little Kim. Like, you created something that really changed the game forever. So how did that come about with Biggie and
it's so crazy that you're talking about this, because I sat up to about 4 in the morning last night listening to Rivera do an interview on Vlad TV and talking about Crush on You and how the record went and everything and how it all came together. But Eli Davis and I used to work these little, I call them pie jobs because they were like easy as pie. So I worked at Super 8 as a desk clerk, third shift. Right? I was the desk clerk, and I would work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'd be out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so we would just jump in my car, and Eli Davis, who now manages Anthony Hamilton, we would drive to New York City, and we would hang out at studios. We'd go to clubs. We'd be going to record labels. Sincere Thompson, who worked for Island Records at the time, was a friend of ours, and we would just sleep on his couch every time we come up, and sleep on the floor or wherever we could sleep, to just have a place to lay our head, and then hit the streets and just constantly networking. Because at that time in New York, there were so many camps in New York City where Rough Riders, Rockefeller, Murder Inc., everything, every possible bad boy, every possible camp was in New York City. So you would see these people everywhere. You would see the artists, the producers, the executives everywhere. You would see them walking down the street. You see them in the store. You see them in the clubs, offices, everywhere. So we were always networking, and we ran into and Biggie at the Hit Factory because we saw the SUVs pull up. At that time at the Hit Factory, Devontae and Jodeci had the studio locked down. Bad Boy had the studio locked down, and Biggie had the studio locked down, and Rodney Jerry. And so every day when the SUVs pull up, it would be like a who's who coming out of those cars going into the building. And Sincere said, if you see tell him I'm your people's, and he will let you play your music for him. And next thing you know, we were upstairs. We saw we told him. Next thing you know, we were upstairs, and we're playing tracks for Biggie for Little Kim's album. And like 2 days later, we're in the Hit Factory with Mace, Cameron, Biggie, Charlie Baltimore, Little Kim, and C's, and we're working on her album and for the records. It was crazy.
And then you got all these people dressed like her Little Kim for Halloween. Come on now, like.
The video was crazy. Even to this day, the record still resonates when it comes on. People go crazy. I could be in the club, and nobody in the club even knows that I did the record, and I can stand back and watch people react to it. So for me, it's a blessing to have a record that still resonates with people so many years later, and that was a staple in her career, because when she originally did the record, she wasn't on the original version. It was supposed to just be introducing Little C's. But when they put the record out, DJ started playing the record, and the record took off. And so Biggie made Little Kim go back in the studio, write a verse, and get on the record. And now, I don't even think she liked the record when it came out. And then once it blew up, she went back, Biggie made her go back and get on the record, and now it's like her biggest record, and that is a staple, and she has to play it every time she goes out. It's like a big hit for her, and she killed it. She really embodied the record. Little C's killed it, Biggie killed it, Mace writing the lyrics killed it, or Cameron, whoever wrote it. It was just all of us at the peak of our career and our best moment, all in that room creating at the same time, and that's why the record came out like it did.
Okay, all of Kim guys say, shall I proceed? Yes, indeed. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you.
It.
Thank you for taking a beat that I made in my bedroom that I couldn't sell for 2 years. All of a sudden become this international, this global hit record, man.
And Mariah sampled it. I mean, I know that was enough for you too.
Yes.
Look.
People still sample it. Kurt Franklin uses it in his live stage show. Jazz musicians play it. I met the original composer Jeff Lorber of the record. We have a friendship now, so it's opened so many doors, and that record just transcends so many different genres, and I see it all the time, and people still love it.
Somebody's in the chat. Tell her who passed on it. Somebody passed on it.
Oh, a bunch of people passed on it.
Wait.
But I don't know any artists. I just know. I don't remember any artists. I played it for a lot of artists. Did play it for a lot of artists. But what was so funny, I played it for a lot of executives that passed on it. And then later on, after the record blew up, they would call me and say, yo, you got anything like, I need something like that Crush on You record. And I was like, yeah, I played that for you. I played that track for you. You passed on it. So some people don't have the vision. I'm so fortunate that Biggie had the foresight to see what that record could be and what they could add to it to make it such a big hit record. So some people have the ear and the vision, and some people don't.
How was it working with the late Notorious B.I.G.? How was it like?
Amazing, because before that, I just knew of him as this rapper, but working in the studio with him, I saw the executive side of him. I saw his vision for what he had for the music as well as for the artist, with the image, how he was using popular samples and knew that these were staples in the Black community in terms of music and how people would react to them. They probably did about, Kim probably did about, between Little C's and Little Kim, they probably did about 7 or 8 of my records. I went one day and I saw on the wall all these dad tapes that says Fanatic and Little Kim, Fanatic and Little C's. Like, so they recorded a bunch of records that they never finished. And, you know, of course, after Biggie passed, you know, we never got a chance to work together again. But there was so much music in the works that we were going to be doing together.
But you know what? For that, you take that one time, and after that, it's forever. And that's what means a lot to me. So is this when you got signed to the Hitman? Is that how they all transitioned as well? Too?
No, actually, I was in D.C. I was in D.C. Working with an artist by the name of Cliff Jones. It was signed to Black Ground. And another point in my life where things weren't working out for me, another dark period in my life. And I just endured it by meeting one of Vincent Herbert, again, the Herbert family. I meet Laquan Herbert in the mall. I'm just out in the mall one day, nowhere to go, nowhere to be, no money, nothing. And I run into Laquan Herbert, and he tells me, he's like, yo, just crash. I was waiting on a big publishing check to come. And he was like, yo, just crash with me until you get your money. And he let me stay with him. And I stayed there a couple of weeks. I finally got my check, got my thing together, and I actually moved to New York this time after that. So at the time, his cousin Jersey was interning at Bad Boy, and he was producing also and working with them, and he told Puffy about me. So the Herbert family has always come at a crucial point in my life and helped me, you know, get to the next level of where I'm going. And I went and met Puffy, played him a bunch of music, and he loved it, and he was like, let's go. And next thing you know, I'm in the studio and I'm working with Mace and working with Mario Winans, and I got the record Get Ready with Mace and Blackstreet. So it was just a great time. A lot of things were happening. Once I got to New York, everything started happening, and I was running into everybody and working with everybody there.
Man, you work with Will Smith, one of the best albums from his catalog. Let's hear about that.
Like, you know what's so crazy is that when I look back at all of this, these were very pivotal moments in all of these artists' career, because when you look at Beyonce, this was her coming out of Destiny Child, coming into womanhood, and it was her first solo record. So it was a very pivotal moment and very crucial moment for her career. It could have went either way.
Yeah.
Same thing for Little Kim coming out of Junior Mafia. This was her solo record, very pivotal moment for her. Even with Mace, this was his sophomore album. They wanted to make sure he wasn't going to suffer the sophomore jinx, so this was a make it or break it moment for him. And with Michael Jackson, he hadn't been out in like 10 years. This was a big moment for him as well. So it was, and Will Smith, you know, now making this burst into Hollywood where music and film, where he was making his mark. So all of these were like really important moments in their career. And it's just, when I look back at it, it's just interesting that I was a part of all of those moments where they had something to prove, and I was instrumental in helping them to achieve that.
And I respect that. That's why I give people like you your flowers, because for you to do that, you know, the iconic songs you made for all these people, these are pivotal moments for their careers to even open the door so they can have longevity. And that's why I give you so much respect. Because like I said, Will Smith album, that album was the shit.
10 million. He was like one of the first rappers to sell 10 million records. And it's always going to be talked about that was his moment.
Well, technically, what I heard from the RA is like 12 million now, so you can probably add
wow.
Yes.
The plaque. I need to get another plaque. And you know, it's so crazy you say that. You say that, and when I look back at it, I always think now, when a lot of those albums are still selling big numbers. And so I was getting plaques when they only went platinum. Now those things are 12. Little Kim is like 4 or 5. So it's like, it's just interesting that those artists continue to sell records even today, you know.
And it's just amazing. And then, like you said, you talked about all the people that played pivotal parts. And I know we're getting like in the 90s now, in the 2000s. So like you said, in 2001, you did work on Michael's album, which is so crazy. My dad bought that album for me for Christmas. Yeah, he bought that for me for Christmas.
Wow.
Oh, yes, he did. He did. My dad was a huge Michael fan. So I wanted Thriller, but he gave me a message. I'm like, okay. But I heard Having Your Way, and now I look back at it, it was one of the best songs. Like, how was it working with Michael Jackson at the time in the 2000s?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, you grow up watching his cartoon. You watch him as a kid singing in the Jackson 5. Then you see him sing as a solo artist and the standout in the group, and he has this big Thriller moment. And, you know, so you never think that, like, he's one of those artists that you're actually ever going to meet. You're ever going to have a conversation with him. But a guy by the name of Kenny Quiller was working with Teddy Riley. Kenny Quiller is from Charlotte. And he got the record to Teddy, and the next thing you know, Michael Jackson is right here talking to me. And I'm like, yeah, this can't be real. Like, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina, so I don't know anybody out there that's ever met him, or more or less even had a conversation with him. So it's just those things, you just don't think those things will ever happen. And then when it does, you start to realize, which that whole experience taught me, that we're all human at the end of the day. We're all 6 degrees of separation from somebody. We know somebody that knows somebody, or we know, especially with the internet now, how to get to anybody. So it's all possible. So he's just a human being, and that just taught me. And after that, that's all the rest of my career was about, was 6 degrees of separation of who do I know that knows somebody, so I can get to this artist or this executive. So,
but getting that placement with Michael.
Yeah. That's another thing too. Just him really appreciating your music. Yeah. That was a moment for me where it's like, when we finished the song, shout out to Jerron Beal and Aritza Walls for writing it. Nate, all these cats that worked on it. We had like a dream team working on that record. And when it was done, I was like, ooh, this feels like Lady in My Life. And I think Michael do a record like this, right?
The ballad, yes.
Before that, it was Free Willy and all these humanitarian songs, which is cool, but I wanted a record that you could play for your woman. You could just a slow tape, Quiet Storm record that you could play, that you could make love to, and make a very special moment with your partner with. And Michael hadn't sung about a woman in a very long time, and so I wanted to bring him back to that.
I agree.
And And it was, and then when, you know, it was the third single, it was supposed to be the third single off of the album. They started playing it off the album, and it wasn't going to be a single. And so the thing about it is, he got into his differences with Sony at the time, and it never came out. But I can only imagine what that video would have looked like with his imagination to that record. So I would have loved to see that. I know it would have been crazy.
And Butterflies, the top two.
I know. I listened to that album now, and I was like, yo, if they really had worked that album and he wouldn't have got into it with it, that album would eventually have done its thing, because there were so many great records on there, so many great producers and songwriters on there. And I just think Michael needed to be more patient. It wasn't Thriller. Times have changed.
Yeah.
He would have been a little bit more patient and been a little bit more accessible with the marketing. Initially, I think that record would have went on to be the biggest record of that year.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, too, because of the 9/11 situation, I think they probably played another role into that, too.
I forgot about that. And that's true.
You know, sadly, R.I.P. to Ali. I know you worked with her as well, Aaliyah. You worked with her on the 1 in a Million album. Like, I feel like those were kind of like the marks that kind of, I think, the music industry as a whole, if you think about it back then.
Yeah, and that for her was a big moment for her, because she was moving from working with R. Kelly to working with Timberland. So another crucial moment in her career also.
Yeah, it was huge. It was very, very huge. But I think the stuff that you did with Michael was amazing.
Thank you.
Sadly, you know, like I said, my dad bought it for me, so I had the album. So, like, I support it. My dad supported me.
People still appreciate that song. I see it all the time on the internet. So just very, very pleased that we were able to bring that out of him.
Yes, he did work with Ali. They asked you, did you work with Ali on the album? You got some Ali fans up in here.
Yeah. We did the Marvin Gaye record. Got to Give It Up. Rick on it. And you know, the record company got a little shady with the credits, but you know, I did that record with her.
But we give you your credit on this platform, so you get all the credit.
Those two moments, the Fugees and the Leah moment, were the ones that I wasn't and a Groove Theory moment I wasn't credited for. But I do realize that it is the business. Sometimes that happens in your career. You really produce a record that you don't get credit for, and it just happens. But you know, at the end of the day, I always look at it like, you know, your job is to DJ for the world, to make music, to make the world feel something. Right. So whether or not you got paid for it or you got credited for it, at the end of the day, you did your job, and those records still make people feel something, and it still affects their lives. So,
and that's why we go to her version too. So we get Marvin and Ali in that respect. So now we're going to move on to another queen, Queen B, Miss Beyonce. So we're going to talk about your classic, the sexiest song off the album.
Thank you.
I'm going to be honest. The song speaks to. So I want to ask you, how was it working with Beyonce, Queen B, Beyonce, and how was it working on their classic song speeches? The song that the Get the Draw song. Let's be real.
Well, that is definitely one of my favorite moments as a producer. Yeah. Just that track and what I did. I worked with Sherrod Barnes on that track. Shout out to him. Just an amazing guitarist. We're like twins. Like we think alike. He's so well versed as a guitarist that anything that I can envision, he can take it, play it. I can send him a voice memo. He can play it, then take it somewhere else that I wouldn't even thought of. So like we just worked really well together on a lot of the records that we did. But the thing about that record is I was listening to a lot of soul music at that time. I was listening to Ohio Players. I was listening to Minnie Riperton. I was listening to Earth, Wind and Fire. All these different. D'Angelo was a huge influence during that time. So the Isley Brothers, and so that track was just so sexy. And I was just like, when Kim Burst asked me to submit something for Beyonce, I was like, sure. And immediately I went to that track because I was like, if a real vocalist really got a hold of this track, they could really just take it somewhere, you know. And it was interesting because when her and Angela Biance wrote the track, they wrote exactly what I was envisioning when I made the track. And you know, that just makes me, it just awakens, it lets me know the power of music, because you can speak to people through the music, because I was trying to create this really erotic vibe, and that's the type of music I was making at that time, and what they wrote to it You know, because before that, it was Destiny's Child. She wasn't really talking specifically about erotic encounters.
Right.
She was just talking about love. And so this was one of the first records where, as a woman, she's talking about being with a man, going in very detail about that encounter. So it was she was coming out into her womanhood at that point. And so that track was perfect. It was the perfect vehicle for her to do that. I know she appreciated that track. Every time I see her, she just thanks me, and she's so gracious about that. And it just blew me away that it had that type of effect on her. When she's at the Grammys, she's saying my name and the acceptance speech. And there were a lot of producers on that album that were way bigger than me. So for her to mention me in that group of producers, it let me know that that record was very special to her. I know it's special to her fans. They love that record. They still, it's everywhere on the internet. People are covering it and all that. Prince told my lawyer at the time that was his favorite record.
What?
So Prince is telling you that, you know,
you good.
Ultimate compliment. And then she told me, Angela told me that when Beyonce was in rehearsals, Prince's band learned the record and played Speechless for her in rehearsals one day. So I knew he was a big fan of the record. So that's like the ultimate compliment when you're like a Prince fanatic. So,
man, let's be real. Speechless is the best song off this album.
Oh,
it's my number one song off this album.
Thank you.
You opened the door for Beyonce, and I'm gonna be real. Without this song, we would not have T-shirt by Destiny's Child. I'm just gonna be honest.
Oh, wow.
Because for me, and I'm speaking on my opinion, this is my opinion, because you know everybody knows I'm a huge DC fan, but I feel like Beyonce as a solo artist, she needed this to show and express herself because she's getting older, you know, and I had to understand that too. When you're getting older, you're falling in love, you're getting to introduce yourself, you're trying to show people like the other side. You know, everybody sees the women empowerment, but we want to see a loving side, and I feel like Beyonce showed it on this record. And I feel like without this song, we wouldn't have Dance for You. We would not have that. Oh, for that.
Hold on. Here I am. Here I am.
Okay. But like I said, for that, without this song, we wouldn't have Dance for You. Right. Let's be real.
Right.
Because this song opened up for her to show the sexy side.
Right, definitely. And you know, her father was very instrumental in A&R in this record. Yeah. And I think the combination of Beyonce and her father together and their A&R skills, they picked the right records. There were a lot of classic records on that album, and it really defined a moment in popular music where it was a wide audience that loved that music. It just wasn't young people. Older people loved that album as well, and it just really touched a lot of different people. And there were just so many moments on that album where it was the best producers, the best music, the best writers, all working together. And that album, you can play that album like from beginning to end, like no skips, like none.
No skill
at all.
I've said this for years, for 20 years, no skills, period. No skills. But for that, I want to read you some quotes because I did my research and I was reading amazing quotes about. You've had a lot of people talk about this on Billboard, Vibe magazine. We did rankings on your song Speeches, so I wanted to share this with you. Talk about this with you because I feel like, you know, even though Speeches is one of my favorite songs off this album, I want to share and recognize why this song means a lot to Billboard and to the Vibe magazine. So the first quote and also I want to tell you this too. Lizzo was so excited when Beyonce was coming back on her Renaissance tour. She wanted this song on the Renaissance tour list.
Oh, really?
Yes, she did.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she did. She was so excited. She was like, Beyonce has to play Speechless. So when you got Lizzo, the new kids giving respect to that song, they're going to show you making an impact.
Well, if anybody out there knows Lizzo, or Lizzo, if you're watching, get at me. I got some more in the vault that are just as erotic as that, and I know you're a great artist that could you know, really do something amazing together with that.
Preach. Okay. All right. So in Billboard article, Beyonce's Dangerous Love, this is at the time in 2018 when the album made its 15th anniversary. So they did a ranking of all tracks, and they ranked your song number 12, Speechless. So this is what they said about Speechless. They said Speechless is the Prince-inspired ballad. It's just one of Dangerously in Love's cuts. They did say this, on which you can hear Beyonce aiming to prove that she's a Destiny's woman now. But while she reveals a supple sensuality on this slow grinder, things never really heat, and the wah-wah guitar is a nice touch. That's what they talk about in this song.
Nice. I like that.
I love that too, because that was one of my favorites. I was like, oh yeah, this is Prince, period.
Yeah. Oh,
Adorn, period.
Send me that. Send me that.
You all of it. You know, I'm gonna send you all. Oh, I'm gonna send you all the quotes because,
wow.
like
But
I
you
said,
know, it's spot on because everything that they talked about and what they just said was definitely how I was thinking and what I was going for, and you can hear all my influences come out in that.
Amazing. And so I love this article right here. It was an article in Pop Matters. This is the year 2003. It was the publisher named Mark Anthony. 2 weeks after Dangerous in Love came out, when the album went #1, we'll talk about that. They talked about Your Song Speechless. This is the only one they were really interested in. They said Speechless may be the most brilliant R&B ballad recorded in the last 5 years. Whoa. This was in 2003.
Whoa.
They said it was so good. They said it was so good. It was just like they were comparing it to like Michael Jackson's Butterflies, Maxwell's Fortunate, or Jaheim's Special Day. That's how they were so intrigued by your song.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
Yes.
So crazy to hear that. Wow. I appreciate that.
No problem.
Wow.
So my last quote, I highly read this because this one I think is like the best one on Cherry on Top. So Vibe magazine, they did a ranking of Beyonce's album as well. This was back in 2000, I think in 2020. They ranked Speechless #4. They ranked it #4, and this is what they call it. They said the minute the slow burn of Speechless comes dripping through your speakers, it's obvious you're in for a treat, especially with the rambunctious guitar solo takes over. So how do you feel that all these quotes that they talked about Speechless, how do you feel about it now, 20 years later?
I mean, it's just amazing. I knew the fans, but you know, the critics are a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Journalists and the writers, it's a whole different thing, and you really want their respect. And well, more than anything, you want them to understand what you're creating. Yeah. And so the fact that all of them are talking about things that we were purposely trying to do on that record and how I express myself and the signature that I have, they all picked up on it. And so it makes me feel amazing that people really were paying attention to what we were creating at that moment. And it's just amazing, man, that record stands out like that.
Like I told you, it's the best song off the album in my opinion, even though we got Crazy Love. But I just feel like with Beyonce, you really, really gave her that woman side that we really, really understand from women that's growing up or learning how to express their sexuality, or not even just learning how to love or be in love with a man. I felt that with this record. And I feel like for what Vibe and, you know, Billboard said about this, it goes to show you that your impact was big, was very, very big.
Well, see, that just shows you that, like, anytime you're feeling like, you know, your career is not going as great as you want it to be, or you have some ups and downs, always, you know, think about those things and just think about, you know, you are essential and people do listen and feel your music and you are enough. So, you know, I'm not saying I go through, I mean, I have moments that I go through that, but not so much. But I'm just saying a lot of producers go through those moments where they're really hot and then they're not so much, or their phone isn't ringing so much and they may feel like they don't have it anymore. And I was like, no, it's always in there. You just can't ever lose your passion for creating. Yeah. Somebody out there is listening. Somebody out there is appreciating it. And one person at a time. Like, you don't have to have millions of people appreciate your music as long as you find your tribe that love what you do. And I think through Speechless, through the years, I've found that. I've found people that I respect that really talk about that record a lot. And it's just like, wow, it's like, you know, there's a group of people that understand exactly what I was doing and love what I was doing and appreciate it. And so thank you to the Beyonce fans that love that record. Thank you to the critics. And just thank you to the musicians. Everybody from Prince to some little girl in Arizona or something loves that record. So, I mean,
you had a girl singing for her husband last year for her wedding, so I mean.
It means a lot. It really means a lot, y'all.
And then that's what it means the most to me. I mean, when you have people study your music, that goes to show you that you're transitioning through generations and generations after us when we leave this earth, you know? And that's why I have to give you a respect Fanatic for that, because like I said, for Speechless to did what it did for the album, and for this album to go #1 on both the R&B and 2 of the Billboard 200 and 6 times platinum last year. How did you feel when all that happened? And it's 11 million worldwide. How do you feel now all of it's coming together now for you with this album?
For me, it feels good because she's put out a lot of great music since that album. Yes. And like and really good albums that, you know, compete with that. But I know that the real fans and the real music people know that this was her best effort, complete effort.
Preach.
Like from start to finish, this was carefully A&R'd. And not that the other ones weren't, but this really shows everything about Beyonce and every aspect of what she does, between creating character to being able to show her vocal range, to be able to show her diversity, her writing, her melodies, her arrangements. Like, this is, to me, is like a resume. It's like a business. The Dangerously in Love album is a business card for Beyonce. Like, if you didn't know her and you wanted to know who she was, this album to me was like the business card that showed you everything that we were going to witness over the next 20 years from Beyonce from that album. So
Preach.
I'm glad that I was a part of that, and with so many other great people. So it makes me feel great.
And she became an artist, and that's why I tell people all the time, 20 years later, like when I look back on a lot, it was really amazing to see her just transitioning and blossom.
Yeah.
I mean, we had Crazy in Love, Baby Boy, like she was coming with hit after hit after hit, and it was like you just couldn't stop it. That machine was huge.
Yeah,
and for what you did, and like I said, and I always say this too, like, it's great to have the singles, but I feel like album cuts make a body of work. And I
love album cuts, because
yes!
I can tell you so much more about the artist, because it's not intentional writing. They're usually sharing something, a side of them, or something that they're going through. They're usually taking chances and doing something outside of the box on an album cut. So that's what I love about that. And the greatest artists out there always have amazing album cuts, just as essential to telling the story of the entire album.
Facts.
You know?
Facts. And that's why this album is a no skill.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yes, thank you so much. So I want to ask you, since you make so many timeless hits, and we talked about all your timeless hits, I wanted to ask you, what is the key to making a hit record? And if you know that, Fanatic, what is your favorite hit from your catalog?
Oh my gosh. Of course it would have to be Crush on You, because I know just a lot of that record just really touches a lot of people. I mean, when you make a hip hop record and gospel people are sampling it and playing it, it just shows you that your music transcends different genres. It's a cross between that one and Speechless. Speechless is always personal to me, because it's an erotic ballad, and I'm a very sensual, sexual person, and that record, when you make something that people, and you think about it, like, people are actually making love to your record, you know, like, I know when I made that record, kids and have told me that they were in their dorm room with their boyfriend having this amazing moment in their life, whether losing your virginity or being with your boyfriend for the first time, or just that semester where you were so in love with this particular person. You know, it just created such a moment in so many people's lives that it's a toss-up between that and Crush on You for me.
Wow. So do you know the key of making, like, you know how to open that door and lock the door to let the people know that's inspired and want to make hits, or just make music to transcend?
I just, it's so hard to tell, because so many things have to line up in order to make a hit record. I just say you just got to really just put your best foot forward to create something that is authentic to you, and take chances, infuse genres, and study great artists from the past and pull bits and pieces from what they're doing. That record was a combination, Speechless was a combination of a lot of artists I was listening to at that time, from Ernie Isley and the Isley Brothers, and what they were doing, to D'Angelo, to Minnie Riperton, to just so many, to Prince, so many different things went into that record. So I would just say, study great artists from the past, channel them, fuse them in your music, try to make timeless music. Versus trying to make a hit, because I don't really go into the studio trying to make a hit record, because so many things have to happen for that to happen. I know a lot of times you can make a great record and the artist can't necessarily carry it, or the record label fumbles the marketing, or you get pushed to the side because there's bigger name producers that their record may not be as good as yours, but they have a big name, so they're forced to market them with the singles and release their records. So you know, you can never tell. You just got to go in there and just try to make a statement and try to take the artist somewhere that they've never been before.
I love that you said that, make a statement, because I mean, once you make a statement, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're always going to be known for that. So many people have come to me that wanted to work with me because they heard Crush on You or because they heard Speechless. So, you know, I love that.
I love that too. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk to you about, so now since like you go by Fanatic, but you also go by your moniker, Billie Lennox. So I wanted you to
Billie
talk
Lennox.
about that, but not even that, but talk about Culture Pushers. Like, what does that mean to you in your life right now?
Okay, well, let's talk about the nonprofit first, Culture Pushers. I've endured a lot in this business, and the Culture Pushers was me just getting together with Renard Pringle and Eli Davis and trying to create a nonprofit where we could help artists figure it out. I know all of us out here know somebody that is incredible, that clearly they have the gift of music, right?
Yeah.
But they get caught up in the complexities of life and the music business, and they get turned off, and they end up choosing a different career path versus expressing the gift that God gave them. So my thing is that, like, I've learned so much and been through so much in this business. It's my job, it's my obligation to help make their path easier so that they have the ability to express themselves through music also. So we mentor them. We create partnerships with major brands and corporations that can help support them. We're just always creating outlets in our network and just doing anything that we can to help artists get to that next phase of their career so that they don't want to quit and keep going and have the ability to get to their destination. So follow us on the culturepushers.org. And we're always in the community. We're always doing something. The pandemic set us back a little bit, but we're always around and always still doing things. And we have things in the works to do it even at a grander scale. Billie Lennox.
Lenny Kravitz. That's what they call you in this chat.
All right, so Billie Lennox is my alter ego. I'm a recording artist now. I've learned so much being behind the scenes from all of these iconic artists. I work with probably like 7 or 8 of the biggest icons in popular music ever, you know. And so when you're working with them, you learn so much about their process and their commitment to their craft. And so I just got deterred with working with other younger artists that couldn't endure all the ups and downs of the music business. And you would get them all the way down the field and they would quit. And so I never quit and I kept going. So I was like, I'm going to step in the front and be an artist, because now it's like you have all the information. You've been mentoring these artists. Why not do it yourself? I know there's no quit in me. You're going to keep going. You're going to keep doing it until you break through. And you have something different and a different perspective that you want to share musically and as an artist. And so I love Billie Lennox because I get to be authentically myself and just express myself in freedom with what I write, fashion, my perspective. The music is a fusion of rock and pop, but also there's soul and R&B and hip hop in there as well. There are no Black artists in this space, so I feel like my calling is to, because we're all right now, a lot of Black artists are segregated to just create in the hip hop and the R&B space, and we know how oversaturated that is. But you know, Black artists are so talented we can create in any space because we created music. So at the end of the day, and every Black artist that ever did rock and roll, from Little Richard to Chuck Berry to Jimi Hendrix to Lenny Kravitz to Terrence Trent D'Arby to Prince to Pharrell to Andre 3000, anytime they give us the opportunity to do it, we become iconic and shoot to the moon. Because Black people, it's in our DNA to express ourselves in a very unique way.
That's right.
We do it with our fashion. We do it with our sexuality. We do it with our live performance. We do it with our vibrato and our swag. So everything about us, we express differently. So we're going to color rock and roll a whole different way than most other artists. And I look around and I don't see a whole lot of Black artists doing rock and roll. And when you look at icons and big artists doing rock and roll, the reference point is Lenny Kravitz, and that was 25 years ago since the last big record. So I know in 25 years, nobody has occupied that space, and I feel like it's time for somebody to come in, give it a facelift, express rock and roll in a whole different way than everybody else, and give Black artists the opportunity to express themselves in that space. And I feel like if other Black artists see me doing it, then they'll feel compelled to express themselves in that space also. And I just feel like with rock and roll, you can just do so many different things and express yourself freely in so many different ways. So I got music out now. There's 4 singles out right now on Spotify. If you look up Billie Lennox, the videos are on YouTube. We're working on the album now, and I'm still coming with it. And just follow me on Instagram, Fanatic, aka Billie Lennox, and just come along for the ride, and just to get into this escapism. And hopefully, it will become a way of life for you to express yourself with the type of freedom we do in every aspect of what we're doing and creating over here.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, I don't know if I call you Billie now. Billie Lennox now.
Fanatic's my producer name. Billie Lennox is my artist name. So, you know, just come along with and experience the evolution and awakening.
And you know what? It is amazing. I love that you're saying all this, because even though everybody in the chat been saying you look like Lenny, you give that vibe. But not even that, you give it because everybody, I think, wants to see that back.
Oh,
they want to see it back, because if people can see you or just have this type of mindset of what you and I love that you're saying that, like, we can hit all genres. I love Tracy Chapman. People don't talk about her. Like, she's amazing. I heard it when I was 6.
Different in every aspect of the word. You know?
It's just like you said, for that, like, everybody, like I said, Black people, we create the sound, we create the music, we create everything.
It don't happen without us. Period. We color the culture every single time and how we do it. Darius Rucker is getting ready to get the Walker Hall of Fame. He's doing country. Lionel Richie did country. Anytime we get the opportunity to do something outside of the box, we always, you know, make it our own, and we take it somewhere nobody else has ever taken it.
And touch it and just hit all genres, and I love that you're doing it. And I'm happy that we have somebody, a face like you, to really open that door to bring it back. We need something like music now.
Thank you.
Oh, Father God, help us all.
Yes. Yes, we need a facelift. We need to stop just doing the same thing. We need to study. We need to study music. We need to study great artists from the past.
I agree.
We need to be free to express ourselves and exercise our creativity. And we just need to think outside the box. Just be free. Just do whatever you feel. Don't worry about if it's a hit. Find that tribe of people that love what you do, and it will grow. Don't worry about it happening overnight. It will happen. Every icon that you know did a fusion. Every icon that you know built their audience gradually. And they went from being this underground artist to being this mainstream big artist, because they were just grabbing fans along the way that love what they did.
And like you said, people are researching. So I think if people are researching now, like they did back then for all like SoundCloud and TikTok, and like you said, me finding all this stuff on TikTok, people are knowing your music. We need to bring that back. So if one TikTok thing, your thing goes viral, it's going to show, and hopefully just explode and just make something big. And I love that. I love that. Thank you. Okay, so now, since last week was the 20th anniversary of Beyonce's amazing debut album, Dancing in Love, if you had to describe one word about this beautiful, timeless, no skip album to me, what one word would you describe it?
Authentic. I would definitely say authentic. And I got to use no skips too, because there's no skips. I mean, when's the last? It's very hard to find an album where it's no skips. And the thing about an album where it was supposed to always take you on a journey and make you discover various things about that artist. So that by the time you got to the end of the album, you knew about her sexuality, you knew about her perspective, you knew about her vocal ability, you knew about her musicality, you knew about her arrangements, you know so many things about her. And I think that's what an album is supposed to do. And you're supposed to live with an album. When you have no skips, people live with the music, and they really get a chance to really explore it and dissect it versus just jumping through songs and skipping to the next one. So that when you're able to do that, that's like some amazing, like not a lot of people can do that.
Amen. What, Fanatic, I swear, you and Focus, y'all said the same damn thing. He said honest. He said the same thing. Was it real? He said organic. And you know what? I have to agree with both of you guys, because even though y'all both on the album and I interview y'all on a different week, it's amazing that y'all said the same thing.
What record did Focus do?
He did yes. He did. And mind you, he said that wasn't even supposed to be on the album. He had just made it at
One of my favorites. And shout out to Bryce Wilson. He did. Yeah. I gotta connect you with Bryce. That's my man. He's like my brother, my mentor. I started in the game with him. I was on his album. Like Bryce Wilson was on that album, and he did something left field also because he thinks left field. I'm gonna connect you with him because he's good people and he has an amazing story with his music as well.
When I say I read them long notes, I wasn't playing. Like I love that album, but you know what? My one word for this Fanatic was electric.
Yeah.
Beyonce's career was on fire, and I said this in the last interview. When I say I got to see Beyonce as a woman, I was so happy to see her in her true self by herself.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
She was in love.
Yeah.
She definitely was in love. You can tell she was at a moment of like we get to see the love inside of Beyonce. Not saying she was never led, but it was like we got to see the side of what she wanted to open up. And I've always told people this: people don't have to tell you who they're in love with. It's in the music. And
on top of that, you also have to realize like her father had been working with her since she was a child. So he knew her more than anybody. You know, even after that, like even after he stopped managing her and she got with Jay and all this, they've been married. What? How long they been married?
Since 2008, 15 years.
Okay. He still didn't know her as well as her dad did. You know, because her dad had so many years, so much impact on her growth musically and as a child and as a young adult. So he really knew her and was able to instill so much into that album. I think he was always the best A&R that she ever had with her. Really like bring all of these things out of her that were in there that maybe at the time she wouldn't have known how to express musically. And he just gave her the perfect platform for her to do that with the music and the musicians and the producers and the tracks and all that, because it's so much of who she really is on that record.
And I agree, and that's why I said when I said it was electric, she was on fire. Like, and I didn't say this super that in an interview. Like, I mean, y'all like the whole album is gonna be on a Marvel comic book movie like that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see how it's hitting everything for that one right there. You really help open the door for her with that track. I feel that with this album, it's super timeless. It's amazing. Like, she really opened the doors for herself and what you guys did for her. I mean, like, we got Speeches, we got Yes, we got Crazy in Love. We had all songs on there that really showed a multifaceted of what Beyonce was all about. I mean, she got a
shout out to Matthew Knowles.
Matthew Knowles. Oh, yes.
Great, amazing A&R job. That was probably like his most quintessential moment. And he did some great things with Destiny's Child and bringing them along. But I think this was his greatest moment as an executive with how he A&R'd that record with her. And they just did an amazing job together. And Beyonce's so hands-on, so meticulous about everything, like working in the studio with her and seeing her process. Like, a lot of people take that co-production credit and are not really deserving of it. But she definitely is it was well-deserved with what she did as a producer on that record, a co-producer on that record, and making sure that every aspect of that record was perfect and it was what it needed to be. And she showed me some things about her creative process that I just really admired. That like, yo, this is not just some ordinary girl, some singer. Like, she's in the mix sessions, she's letting you know what works, what doesn't work, what's competing with her vocals, what's not. The demo is different than the final version of the record. When I got in the studio, the final version was damn near a whole different mix. In the way she was arranging the guitars and stuff in there from what we originally did. And so it allowed me the space to go back in and add other things to it. We added additional guitar parts to it. So just amazing work that she did on that record with us.
I mean, like, let's be real. Like, Speeches, that's her best vocal ability on the album. Like, she's
wow.
We get
that's saying a lot too with Dangerously in Love on that. And you know, it's so crazy. I felt that way too. I was like, Dangerously in Love is impressive, but I felt like Speechless was her best performance.
When she said,
I know that she hit at the end of the song. I was just like, geez. I was like, you know, people get to experience, like, that's like your Whitney Houston, I will love you, I will always love you. No, like, you're coming to the concert at that time to see if she's going to hit that note, and she does. And every time the band is great when they play it. So it's just an amazing record, man.
And that's why I will forever be so grateful for you for that.
Yeah.
So I have one more last question, Mr. Bang.
Uh-huh.
I got one more last question for you. You had to have any advice for people that want to make it into the music industry now, from back then when you were doing it at the time to now's generation doing it? What advice do you have to people that are inspired to be in the music industry?
Just don't quit. Don't ever quit. Don't ever stop. Believe in yourself. Realize that everybody's not going to get it until everybody gets it. Just don't stop making music. Don't stop trying to be authentic. Really study great music from the past, great artists from the past, great marketing techniques from the past. Just surround yourself with people that uplift you and make you feel confident in what you're doing. Don't ever dumb down yourself to appeal to other people, and just keep going when it gets dark. Think about where you were 6 months ago and the people you had access to and what you were doing with your music, and look at where you are now, and you'll find like there are a bunch of steps that you've taken since then that have gotten you closer to your destination. And and appreciate the steps along the way, because we always look at the end all be all as the hit record or the record deal, but there's so many amazing steps along the way that are so important that you have to remember and appreciate to get to that moment and that destination. But the most important thing is make sure your spirituality is connected with your path and your journey. You are not going to get through this or navigate through this without that. Your conversations late night with God and him managing you and helping you navigate those waters. Those are the things that are going to help you get to where you're going and really understand this and understand the people that you're dealing with. So important that your spirituality is in the forefront and there's purpose, making sure that there's purpose attached to what you're doing. Don't do this for fame. Don't do this for money. Make sure that purpose is the foundation. And the other most important thing is never lose your passion for creating. Never lose that desire, that passion, that feeling you get when you comes out of your head and you create something just as you envisioned it. And let that always fuel you, because that will get you through the dark moment.
You better see, that's why you are Prince.
I'm a vessel.
You're a vessel. And that's why the influences that made you, that you inspire, made who you are, I'm so proud that God is in the alignment of your life.
Oh, definitely.
And that's what it is to be all about. And that's why I said, like, what you did for all these artists, R.I.P. to Michael Jackson, because, you know, it was 14th anniversary of his passing, but for these people to really transcend with the music of the time of our lives. And I'm so proud, because like I told you earlier today, like I was 14 when I listened to this album and I loved it from the break. But when I went to spend time with my family for Christmas and my cousin played this and my 7-year-old cousin singing speeches and all these songs, I'm like, wait a minute, the babies, like they're in second grade singing these songs. That goes to show you that you really, really are an impact to all our lives. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. You really, really are. You really, really are.
Now, I appreciate it, and I appreciate this platform. Like, you're doing something that is so needed and so necessary with giving people an opportunity to tell their journey and their testimony. And it's helping other people that are watching this that may have the same desire and aspirations as we do. And so it's a very important tool in helping people navigate through the music business and navigate through life, because they're all life lessons at the end of the day. So you're essential. You're a piece of the puzzle that is just as necessary as the producer, the songwriter, the artist, the journalist, the critic, all of that. We all are a community.
Oh, so do you have any last words you want to say about this amazing album or this interview? What do you got?
Take some time today or this weekend and put it on and just ride to it. Listen to it when you're cleaning the house. Listen to it when you're making love. Do all of that and experience again, and it'll just blow you away again when you listen to it. Just like the first time you heard it, it'll still have that same impact on you, and you'll be like, wow, I can't believe that, you know, this body of work that she did was so almost just like perfect. And so, you know, experience it again. Take some time out and experience it again. Appreciate it.
Oh, well, I am just so honored. So you have dropped so many gems, and I'm so proud of you, Fanatic, and I'm honored to have you on the platform. You are just a legend. You are an icon. You are everything that we need for our generations and generations on down. And I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
I really do appreciate you as well. We're definitely gonna send me those articles.
Oh, you know,
definitely want to see those. And I'm gonna connect you with Bryce Wilson so he can tell you about his experiences creating for Beyonce as well. And just thank you again for this moment. Everybody, go follow Billie Lennox, aka Billie Lennox. Follow him. We got a new video out, thought-provoking video. Check that out. Follow my journey. Always working with great new people. Got a new producer by the name of Kincaid that I've been turned on to, that is doing amazing work as a female producer, which is rare. And when you hear her music, it's different than what a lot of people are doing, because she studies as well. So you know, check her out also too, and just a lot of just follow me. I got some dope people around me that I rock with that will always be something different and something to experience.
And for that, I'm so proud of y'all. And we are done with our beautiful interview with the R&B and hip hop legend, the Grammy Award musician, producer, the one and only Fanatic, aka Billie Lennox. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Right.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Bye.